Final Fantasy XIV has gone after one of the biggest mods out there. Mare Synchronos is taking its final bow. But how did we get here? Why is FF14 like this when it comes to modding? And where do we go from here? We have a lot to talk about. Hello everybody, I am Jmulls, and let's get into this.
What other reason do I require?
To begin, we venture into the unknown, a land of mystery and pain. We go to Reddit. And I'm sure this post is reliable because it has 5.2k upvotes. And because I'm not actually in the Mare Synchronos Discord, I'll be using this as my reference point. The title of this Reddit post being Final Fantasy XIV mod, Mare Synchronos is shutting down. And you may be like me, where you have never even heard of this until, well, this news broke. Well, join the club. We'll just read the first part of this, but see the sun set, the day is ending. With a heavy heart, I have to announce the end of Mare Synchronos as you know it. I've received a legal inquiry concerning the project. After reviewing my options with counsel, I'm winding it down. Effective immediately. The Discord server will be limited to the general chat with a heavy slow mode. The registration will be closed and the bot services will be out of commission. The repositories for client, server, and API will also be removed as per this announcement. I will be removing all Patreon Ko-fi memberships and disable the tiers. To my knowledge and my understanding, Mare Synchronos was a mod that allowed you to share what mods you had installed with other people using that mod, and you could see what other mods people other than yourself had installed as well. I think it had a little bit more functionality than that, but I'm really not in touch with the modding scene in this game, but that's my general understanding. And because of that functionality, it became really popular over the last couple of years for the modding scene in particular. Because if someone else had a series of mods that you really liked and you want to install on your own client, you wouldn't have to just ask them and hope they would respond. You could just, well, check and verify for yourself. And I don't know if we know specifically why the legal inquiry happened. I have seen some speculation, but I don't know about the veracity of it. But the end result stays the same. This mod is going away. It has been kind of the general understanding for the modding scene in FF14 that just shut up about it and keep it under wraps. Because Square Enix really doesn't care unless they have to get involved with something. Like a serious case of cheating or some kind of big privacy issue. We had that one relatively recently. You know, just don't do things that would put the mod in the public eye. Like, you know, renting out a billboard, for instance. Yeah, remember when that happened? But now let's get into modding itself.
What other reason do I require?
Modding has always been a tricky subject when it comes to FF14, because a lot of people do it even if they're not technically supposed to. Whether that be in-game damage meters, customizing your character to whatever ludicrous proportions you want, or to modify the game to give you a leg up during combat. There's a lot of types of mods in this game, and while Square Enix's position has kind of been don't kiss and tell when it comes to modding, if you know where to look, you can always find discussions surrounding it and people sharing screenshots and a whole host of stuff. And I've seen kind of two reactions when it comes to Mare Synchronos going down. You have the people that, well, utilize Mare Synchronos who are not particularly happy about one of their most useful mods going the way of the dodo. And then you have a bunch of other people that are essentially ecstatic that a scene in Final Fantasy XIV that is not to their liking is essentially suffering or is having something bad happen to them. There's a lot of people that have a negative stereotype in regards to RPers, just calling them gooners and stuff like that. And look, the game has a fair number of them, let's be fair here. I've had people try to ERP during an alliance raid, a roulette mind you, during a boss fight. But in my entire history with the game, that's happened like once. My general mindset when it comes to modding and when it comes to stuff like this is so long as it doesn't affect me, I don't particularly care what other people do with their own game. If it doesn't affect me and isn't harming anyone, I don't see why I should care what other people do behind their own closed-off in-game doors. It doesn't bother me. But there are a lot of people out there that like to have a sense of control and like to see people that enjoy things they don't personally enjoy suffer or no longer be able to enjoy those things. They get some kind of like sick satisfaction out of it. And while I'm personally not going to shed any tears in regards to Mare Synchronos, I'm also not going to celebrate that it's going away. I don't really see the point. I don't see how it makes the game any better. I think the game still has a fair few things that I quite enjoy about it, and a lot that I think needs to be improved or drastically changed because they're just outdated or not enjoyable to me. And I think the prevalence of modding in this community and in this game really goes to show just how limiting the base experience can truly be for so many people. I'm not even just talking about RPers here. I mean, how many times has it become a meme when someone would get banned for an in-game mod or plugin, whatever you want to call it, because it enhances the in-game experience? They would get banned, and then that functionality at some point in the future would essentially be implemented into the game. Like, look how long it took them to get chat bubbles online and into the actual game. And like, yeah, the final implementation is pretty decent, but like, my god, it took forever. And we're still waiting around for the in-game raid planner. A lot of the times when it comes to incorporating basic functionality people want and oftentimes get out of modding, Square Enix can be really slow to actually implement it into the game. When it comes to battle mods, I understand Final Fantasy XIV's hesitation when it comes to actually incorporating a lot of these elements, because we have a great case example of what happens when you let that stuff go too rampant with World of Warcraft. And we're seeing that game have to really roll it all back. One of the biggest things they've been focused on recently is incorporating a lot of the basic functionality people utilize add-ons for into the game, and then being able to shut off the data those add-ons rely on in order to function, in an effort to really change and completely alter how people fundamentally interact with World of Warcraft. And Final Fantasy XIV doesn't want to have that problem to begin with, so they've been uber strict when it comes to actually officially sanctioning mods by just not allowing them. It's a bit of a lose-lose situation, because people like to use mods when it comes to PC games, and especially MMOs. People like to tinker their experience to suit whatever they want out of it, whether that be for role-playing purposes or just for gameplay or just the overall visual clarity or the experience of looking at the game. And I go back to my previous point, so long as it isn't hurting me, I don't care what people do. But I think it really goes to show Final Fantasy XIV's limitation when it comes to in-game customization.
What other reason do I require?
I want to take this situation and like take a step back here and talk about the in-game customization for Final Fantasy XIV overall, because I think it's really bad. I think it's one of the worst elements of Final Fantasy XIV. And I think it's utterly baffling why it takes so long for functionality that originated as mods and third-party things for this game to be announced and then implemented into the game baseline. I'm not just talking about things like Mare Synchronos. I'm talking about things like chat bubbles or the in-game raid planner. Those things were announced long ago, and we only just got chat bubbles, and we don't even have the in-game raid planner yet. Final Fantasy XIV can be horrifically slow when it comes to implementing things the community wants and oftentimes uses from third-party modifications, and they just take forever to actually incorporate those elements into the game itself. And I think one of the reasons we see so many people utilize third-party mods to customize their character is because the in-game character creator is so limiting in comparison to what is available out there. And like, yeah, you're never going to be able to implement everything that every individual is going to want out there, right? There are some people that will want things to make their characters have absolutely ludicrous proportions in order to engage in naughty fantasies. Yeah, that stuff will always be out there, and there will always be an audience for stuff like that. And I don't expect the base game to incorporate or to satiate necessarily those players. However, I think there are a lot of people out there where the in-game visuals for the character, for the animations, just aren't up to par, and they just want a little something else. They want something extra. They just want their character to look the way they specifically want it, but the in-game character creator or the in-game animations are so limited in comparison, they're not able to get that experience. For instance, for me, whenever a game gives me an in-game character creator, I always go with the same default. Bald guy with a red beard. I think it's a rather simple request when it comes to a game. When it comes to FF14, the in-game options look terrible. I like playing Highlander. Why is my beard options tied with my face? Why do I only get one option, really? They look awful, and I'm not able to create the character that I want in a game where your Warrior of Light is supposed to have such an important role. Why does it take them so long to not only ban people for using a third-party mod, but to then incorporate the functionality of that mod into the game? It's like, that's been a meme in this community for the longest time. But like, look how long it's taken for chat bubbles to come online. Look how long it's taken for things like the raid planner to even come online. We don't even have that yet, like I said before. Or when it comes to things like just modifying the user interface of the game, it can be both really customizable, but also in the same way, very limiting. And the changes that we do get are often few and far between. So while I don't think myself or many others are going to necessarily shed tears over the loss of Mare Synchronos, I never even used the thing. Heck, I never even knew it existed before this whole story happened. That's how out of touch with the modding scene that I am. But what I do think it shows is just how many people out there aren't satisfied with the base experience of the game. I think it's easily one of the worst elements Final Fantasy XIV has, especially with how much focus and emphasis this game has on glamour when it comes on to the overall visual experience of your character. It's so limiting when it actually comes to customizing your character. It's a baffling dichotomy. It's like, yeah, I get it. Some people don't like the side of the community that are very horny. Like, let's be fair here. I don't engage in that stuff either, but I don't care that it exists. I don't see how their enjoyment of the game affects me in any way. So long as you're not doing it in a random alliance roulette that I'm in. Yeah, I've had that happen before. I don't see the problem. And I don't see why Square Enix has to be such sticks in the mud when it comes to third-party modifications for Final Fantasy XIV. Like, if it affects the gameplay and it's essentially a cheat, yeah, I can understand that you don't want to become World of Warcraft in its worst time with things like weak auras and all that kind of stuff, right? Totally get it. I don't want the game going that direction either. But when it comes to just modifying how the game looks, how the game possibly even feels, so long as it's not affecting other people negatively, I don't see the problem with it. It feels like some stupid situation you find yourself in high school where you're not supposed to have your phone, but it really just means don't get caught with your phone. I don't see how this experience makes the game any better. I don't see who it's supposed to benefit. And I think this current situation with the game when it comes to third-party modifications is just utterly baffling and stupid. Like, the only thing I can think of is, like, maybe there's some obscure Japanese law that makes it so they can't officially sanction third-party modifications. Like, maybe. But I haven't seen that specific law. Well, I'm not an expert in law overall, but especially Japanese law. You know, I just have absolutely no experience in that stuff. But when it comes to how people are playing the game, when it comes to the actual experience people are having with the game, I think Square Enix either needs to be way faster when it comes to incorporating stuff into the game itself, or just stop being so restrictive. It's like maybe there was some kind of issue with Mare Synchronos in particular, right? I don't know. I have no idea about this, but like maybe there was some underlying privacy issue or security concerns. I don't know. If there were, I can kind of understand where they're coming from here, but if it was squeaky clean in those regards, I don't see the issue. And I don't see how shutting this mod down benefits anyone. Those are just my 2 cents though.
What other reason do I require?
So here's where you come in. Leave a comment down below with your thoughts on the state of in-game customization for Final Fantasy XIV. Do you think it's lacking? Do you think it's sufficient? What are your thoughts on third-party modifications for the game? I would love to hear your thoughts, hear your opinions, and to hear your perspectives. Stay safe, have a great day. Follow me on TikTok, Twitch, and Twitter, Jmulls G. Like and subscribe on this video. I have a Discord in the description down below. And guys, we're getting a Monster Hunter Wilds collab, and if you want to see my thoughts on it, you should check out this video right here for more. Stay safe, everybody. Have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Until we meet again.